what do y'all think of the media basically trying to switch the roles of men and women? Men making more feminine and women more masculine. It's a good question right here. What you think about that?
I think that there is that like toxic masculinity, I think, is a real thing. And
you think toxic? What's your definition of toxic masculinity?
Someone a male that is not accepting, that thinks that men only need to be this textbook masculine form and are not accepting of, and also that women need to be their textbook form of femininity. And there's no ability to have any crossover. I like overly angry about certain things. And just like unaccepting in general of that crossover bit. How we got into like the Me Too movement. How like if I say it's going to happen, then it needs to happen. No means no is not a thing because I'm the man and like what I say goes.
So just real quick, real quick. So toxic masculinity is, and I want to go by your definition before I continue to go into it, because I think that I don't agree with the definition of toxic masculinity as to suggest that masculine traits of a man are inherently toxic.
No.
So there's things that men do that have been labeled toxic masculinity that I do not agree with. Locker room talk. Dudes all together talking about women in a way that can be
inappropriate and degrading to women.
Well, here's the thing. Women do it too.
And no one said
toxic femininity. So
is that fine?
Well, that's what I'm saying though. So here's the thing: is call a spade a spade. Is if you put a microphone in some of the conversations that happen between men, it can be seen as degrading to women. But those are conversations
it can be degrading to women.
But women do the exact same thing.
I mean,
the exact same. Y'all talk about parts and pieces and insertions and the what you liked about it, what you didn't, that you'll have the exact same. So is that really toxic?
Well, I think that.
Or is that just human speech? Is that just the way that we developed?
Because the span of your words as a man can be taken outside of that locker room so much further than with a woman. So like if you're in the women's locker room and y'all are like, you're either lying and saying he beat it up and whatever. And then a woman, now we're going to flock to you because I lied on your behalf. Or if you say like, he's trash, I still don't feel like that is going to be.
If you talk about, I got a BDR, I call it a BDR, a bad report. And there'll be nobody who subscribed to me that gets BDRs. Okay. Don't you do it. Okay.
But I mean, like for men.
But that can ruin his reputation. Is that toxic femininity because you're in the locker room talking about his BDR?
But how much more is that? I feel like more common. It is men saying like, she let me hit it and she didn't. Or she didn't like it was. But lying is part of locker room talk. Don't tell me that it's not.
I don't think generally you should be talking about or bragging about the situations. I keep everything that I can to myself.
The lady never tells.
Like even like I get questions on this channel like, yo, which one of your guests you messing with? They always
not this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're married. Go ahead, show. I get questions like that in the channel, and I always leave those questions unanswered, except for on Patreon. I talk about it from time to time. But salute all my Patreon supporters.
Women will never admit to toxic femininity. It's not true.
They won't admit to toxic femininity?
I will.
I don't think that it exists. So the thing is like if you're gonna say toxic, go ahead, talk.
I think it exists. I don't think that it exists in a way that pushes the detriment that toxic masculinity does, and that's because of the power structure. I think it's the same thing as like racism. Racism is such an issue because of the power structure that we have set up. Where if you are white, i.e. in power, and you're pushing down these laws, it's a lot. It's to the people that are under you, it's to their detriment a lot more than, your minority represented counterparts. So with that same light, men they're at the top of the food chain in the power structure.
So you think toxic masculinity is more obtrusive because you think that it's a patriarchal society?
Yes.
So that goes into I think what you said, and I forgot to react off of it, is you're saying that with toxic masculinity, that dudes are more willing to act on.
I don't even know if it's that men are more willing to act on, but they are taken more seriously. They physically have more power.
Mm-hmm.
They're in positions of power more often. So them doing these toxic things it's a lot more far reaching.
I feel like it's all or nothing, right? Like if you think toxic masculinity exists, you have to assume toxic femininity exists.
I do. And I said it does.
Okay.
I definitely think that it does. I think that why though toxic masculinity is at the forefront of media's minds is because it is a lot more far reaching, because we live in a patriarchal society.
I think it's also in the front because more people care about women's issues than men's issues.
What are men's issues?
Oh my gosh. Let me start by saying this. So if you look at an advertisement of women that are overweight, they say that that's a plus size woman. Mm-hmm. If you look at images of men that are overweight, they say that's an overweight man. Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to say is the illustration that on one side of the coin, it's looked at as plus size, even the terminology, the vernacular of using plus as to say something added to, but not necessarily negative, as opposed to a man is overweight, right? If you take a look at incarceration rates of men versus women, if you take a look at suicide rates of men versus women, there's things, the amount of men that are on death row versus the amount of women that are on death row. There's things that are within these stats. And I know that we're looking at the outcome right now, mm-hmm. but you have to understand that there has to be, there's inputs within that make up that outcome. And within those inputs, something is happening within there. And I would say there's components of that argument where we are not solutioning for men at a rate that we're solutioning for women, or there's not a finger being put on how we are not as privileged in some cases as women are. Especially in the Black community, we have this bravado amongst folks that look like you and I, or just me, because I'm talking about men, but we're not allowed to talk about the issues that we're going through and the mental health problems that we're talking to. And it's not considered as important as if a woman is going through this. So I'm just trying to highlight things that are men's issues that I feel like don't get the marketing behind it, as opposed to the Me Too movement, which I agree. There's components of the Me Too movement, and I say get the creepy dudes out of there, get them completely out of there. But it starts to go too far when you have women that say it's an aggression, it's a microaggression if a man holds a door open for me. Or if you take a look at like the Aziz Ansari case, and if you take a look at that, and she was putting the hashtag Me Too movement in a way to implicate him, and which sounded like a bad date, and that she's a thought, and she was doing things that she later regretted. Yeah,
and then wanted to be able to put the blame on somebody else.
When are women going to be accountable for their actions? When? Harvey did not rape anyone. What? A lot of women have buyer's remorse after the act.
I will not be commenting on this. So if you want to, that's fine.
I don't know, bro. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. As a man, here's what you have to be careful of when you get in a position of power. That's when it gets weird. If there's a mistake of you using your position of power in order to get something from someone, even at the place that we work at, the VPs and the presidents messing with the administrative assistants, the secretaries. It happens. And they get ousted. Why? Not because it wasn't consensual, but because of the difference in the power. You got to think about the power of a Harvey Weinstein. If the cases are going the way that we're hearing about it in the media, there were situations where he would invite them up and he would be their meal ticket. He would invite them up, show up with robe undone, and expect an outcome. When you're in a position of power that will change the outcome of that person's life or their ability within that job field, that career. And I hear what you're saying. There could be buyer's remorse. They got what they wanted out of the situation and they used the vagina at the time in order to get to a position that they wanted to get to. And then later on, they reported on that situation. It doesn't matter. I still would argue, as a man, you should never put yourself in that position. You should never put yourself in a position where it's even put into question how you use your power to get vagina when you're a public figure. Because we see what's going on. We see what's going on. Now, here's the thing is that here's part of the reason why you never want to do that. You always want to be very selective with who you let into your crew, who you let into your divine circle.
Who you let come to Columbia with you.
Is because at the end of the day, they can lie. They can lie. They can make shit up. I've had that shit happen to me. I've had motherfuckers convince me of domestic violence. I mean, tell police I hit them. I've had motherfuckers say that, women say that shit. And it was a complete and utter lie. They made it up. They made it up. Now, the thing is I had the receipts why it didn't make sense. I had the receipts why it didn't make sense. So here's one of the things that I actually do. And I haven't talked about this on my channel a lot. I haven't talked about this channel a lot. And I feel like we should have conversations on this, my G's. You have to protect yourself. Don't delete your text messages. If you have photos, videos of how you're interacting with a young woman, don't delete those. And in fact, do more things in your life in order to capture those moments.
Wait.
Yeah, because those will prove as things that you can use. Because, like, listen, I've had boys accused of shit that I know for goddamn certain they did not do. Facts. I've had Amber, I've had boys accused of rape that I know they did not do. I had motherfuckers call cops on me for shit that I did not do. So that's why this comment reigns true for me, because I understand where you're coming from. However, there's a lot of evidence that was to speak otherwise. Same thing in the R. Kelly situation. 30 chicks?
More than that.
It's more than that, right? But I will say, gents, you have to do everything in your power to protect yourself. Everybody who you let into your circle, understand that they could be grabbing onto a piece of whatever you bring to the table and will flip on you. When they flip on you, they don't care. They don't care. Salud, bro. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Yeah. Truth, MT. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Shit just got real. We could talk about it all day. I haven't talked about this before, and actually I might do a video on it. the pre-recording, then I have to go back and talk on a live stream to y'all. But this shit goddamn happens, Amber. This shit happens. It's happened to me. It's happened to a couple of my bros. When they backs up against the wall, they will do things to assure that they come out on top.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
It's all good.
Is it?
MGTOW man, what's good, my G? Listen, are y'all emailing me, by the way? Let me check my phone real quick. If you want to do a call-in show.
I'll read this.
All right, go ahead, girl.
Women want men speaking and behaving the way they want, or else they are toxic. It is all about control of men to serve. JJ.